Okay, welcome to Vocabulary Knowledge Part 2. In this section, we are going to talk about two major pieces that happen in context questions when we're in the linear functions, but in word problems. And the most important thing that I can say is that during the SAT, sometimes they don't want to know a numerical response. They want you to analyze the situation, where they're asking you to find the rate of change or how is it represented in the context of a problem. We know that we've already learned that rate of change is slope. And we also have been programmed to say that rate of change is rise over run. But what we haven't really delved into too deep is what happens when it's not just a basic equation, that they give us a scenario and we have to figure out what the rate of change is, and the equation, and it isn't a concrete thing. You have to actually read and interpret. So basically, what I use as my rule of thumb for what is the rate of change is how something is changing, or how something changes over a specific period of time. So an example of that would be like if I'm paying $25 an hour for tutoring, $25 per hour, the rate of change would be $25 for every 1 hour. And we would express that by 25 over 1. Okay? If it's something like, what is the rate of change when you have a negative amount, like this is a silly example, but let's say I'm going to lose 100 brain cells every time I watch SpongeBob. So if I'm going to lose 100 brain cells every time I watch SpongeBob, then losing would indicate that I would have a negative 100 for every 1 show. And if you notice, these unit rates are always for every 1. If you end up with a scenario where they're telling you what happens over a different specific period of time, like 5 movies every 3 days, then what you would want to do is you would want to analyze what that would be for every 1 day. And you would want to find a unit rate to indicate what it would be for 1 time instead. To analyze this further, what does this represent in the context of the problem? It would say something like this. For every show that I watch of SpongeBob, I will lose 100 brain cells. For every hour that I work, I'm going to earn $25. That's what the context of the problem is. It's not a slope. It's not a rise over run. It's a unit rate of what happens every time I do one